watching The Isaiah Factor, Uncensored.
And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. We're continuing our coverage of an awful case out of New Haven, Connecticut. And we first brought it to you last night. Very disturbing. It highlights a lack of care and dignity some police officers have for some Black people. Randy Cox is a victim of one of those instances. After a dangerous, you just saw it there, after a dangerous and life-altering ride in a police van, he will likely never walk again. Attorney Benjamin Crump is representing his family. He says Cox deserved to be shown some kind of humanity before and after he hit his neck and was left paralyzed.
You know, it has really pissed a lot of people off to see how these police officers treated Randy Cox in New Haven, Connecticut. It's just mind-blowing.
Yeah, you know, Isaiah, it harkens back to Freddie Gray in 2015, where his neck was broke into in the back of a police transport vehicle, commonly referred to as paddy wagons. And so when you look at the video, you immediately say, this is Freddie Gray on video. We get to see it, and it's such a shocking video. It shocks the conscience when you see him sliding unrestrained in those handcuffs, and his hair hits that wall within that van, and you know that his neck had to be seriously injured. And for the police to not believe him when he says, I think my neck is broken, and they just mock him and throw him around like a rag doll, it's very difficult to watch.
And you get to see it from beginning to end, from the moment he get into that transport unit until they just throw him in the jail. Not a ounce of compassion from any of these officers, simply calling him drunk. So what's the status of those officers right now?
Right now they're on suspension, but nobody has been terminated or anything like that. And so the family is calling for there to be criminal accountability, and also they want policy change. And sadly, you know, the medical prognosis for Randy Cox is that he's going to be paralyzed from his chest down. And
is that permanently, temporarily?
Well, the doctors are, you know, they want to be optimistic, but they said in reality, his neck was severed, and they're saying that he's probably never going to walk again.
Incredible. So what is the family doing now? Have they taken that step to file a civil lawsuit as of yet, or they're waiting on this investigation to run its course?
Well, we're trying to get as much information as possible. Like, we know that they have said the police officer was exceeding the speed limit when he slammed on brakes. And certainly, Isaiah, there was no exigent situation. Mr. Cox, you know, did not resist at all. I mean, he was arrested without incident. They put him in the back with handcuffs, with no restraints, no seat belts or anything like that. So he knew that this citizen was back there. So why would you be speeding? You know, it's bad enough you don't have seat belts, but then the speed where it was foreseeable that he would be injured if you had to suddenly stop. I think it just adds to the unfortunate circumstances that led to this young man who walked in to that van talking and breathing on his own. Now he's lying in ICU with a breathing tube to assist him in breathing, paralyzed from his chest down, unable to speak.
Now, how much time did it take them to get him the medical attention he needed from the time he was placed in that cell to actually making it to the hospital? What kind of time was that?
You know, and that's why people are so outraged. The driver of the police transport unit called in and said, you know, the detainee said that he fell and hit his head and that he can't move his arms. I'm calling EMS. But instead of waiting there, he drove back to the detention center where his supervisor and everybody was waiting. And then they they mocked him. They didn't believe him when he said, "I can't feel my arms. I think my neck is broke." Just like they didn't believe George Floyd, who said, "I can't breathe" 28 times.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't believe Eric Garner, who said, "I can't breathe" 19 times. When will police officers believe Black people when they say, "I'm injured" or "You've hurt me"? And we see that sadly just this past Juneteenth when Randy Cox in New Haven, Connecticut said the same thing to those police. And so it took from the time that the officer called it in until they took him to the detention center, drug him out feet first, and then threw him into the wheelchair. And you saw his body falling like a limp rag doll. Yeah, I mean, it's just so no ounce of compassion or humanity. And then they drag him by the shoulders, put him in the jail cell to add insult to injury. They then put shackles on his ankles when it's obvious this man is incapacitated. And then the EMS comes after that death. So we know just from the time that he initially called EMS and to the time that he's placed in the jail cell, that at least 25 minutes to 30 minutes elapse.
Incredible. And time is of the essence in a situation like that.
That is crazy, y'all. Salute, man. Big relax.